Let's get to matchup draft. We haven't had time or occasion to do this lately, but Myles is here. We've held him over a little bit. He was going to do it anyway, but held over. When I was a kid, it was always a big deal. They used to have in the newspaper the ads for the movies, and if the movie was held over, that's the movie you had to go see because it was doing so well. Oh, by popular demand. Yeah, we're trying to make money here. People are coming to see this movie. We'd rather keep the movie people want to see than some crap they don't want to see. So there's no segue there that I can think of. Myles is held over. Let's do a matchup draft. Week 7. Go. And this, as you know, template is as broad as you want it to be. The canvas is as blank as it is for Amari Cooper in Buffalo. Any matchup you're looking at this weekend?
Oh, well, I got something for Amari Cooper in Buffalo and Cleveland in a little bit, but I want to start with Ben Johnson and Brian Flores because these are two of the top play callers, play designers in the entire National Football League. And we've got Lions at Vikings this weekend, probably one of the biggest games of the weekend, I'd say. I mean, the Monday night between Baltimore and Tampa Bay, also really good. But when you've got two teams in the same division, one's 4-1, the other is 5-0, that's a pretty big deal, especially this early on. And so I'm really interested to see the solutions that Ben Johnson can give Jared Goff for a Brian Flores defense, because that is one of the defensive play callers that has really flummoxed Jared Goff throughout the course of his career. I mean, you do think about the 2018 Super Bowl 53, where it was Rams versus Patriots. That's Brian Flores on the other side, and it's one of the worst Super Bowls we've ever seen because there was barely any offense, right? And I mean, it was just something that completely confused Jared Goff. And then the next year, when it was Rams at Dolphins, it was the same sort of thing. So Ben Johnson, Brian Flores, two of the best at what they do. I'm interested to see what that ends up looking like because Vikings defense has played well, but so is the Lions offense, and they have done some absolutely creative, fun stuff. Let's see what they do this weekend.
You made a reference to Amari Cooper and the Browns. You have something for them later. I hope I'm not usurping you on this, but you know what? You could have gone with your Browns thing first. I'm going Joe Burrow versus the Browns generally because he's 1-5 in his career against the Browns. And now that the Browns is the Browns again, and they're 1-5 this year, if you're ever going to beat the Browns, Joe, this is the time to do it because if you lose, you're 2-5. And at this stage of the season, every loss gets you closer and closer to the point where you're basically in playoff mode. And maybe that's good because playoff mode Joe Burrow is a badass. And maybe he needs to get to the point where he says, this is basically the postseason. Let's go. You just don't want to have 11 postseason games when it's all said and done. So they need this one. Even though it's in Cleveland, the Browns are teetering. Deshaun Watson should not be playing. That's well established. Amari Cooper is gone. There's going to be other guys that are thinking, how do we escape like Amari did? This is the perfect opportunity for the Bengals to get to 2-5. No, 3-4. Avoid going to 2-5 and get Joe Burrow to 2-5 all time against the Browns.
Yeah, that is one of the interesting things about this matchup. I mean, last year when they went to Cleveland, it was at the beginning of the season. Joe Burrow was not completely healthy. That was really obvious. Maybe it was the calf at that point. And I mean, they just battered him around. So that's the kind of thing that the Browns are going to need defensively in order to win this game, like just batter him around because, and this is what I was referencing earlier. I mean, this matchup is really kind of off the board, but it's Deshaun Watson versus the Cleveland crowd. And now, like, there are my beloved Browns, right? I grew up in Cleveland. This is not going to be pretty this week. And the Browns have 3 straight home games, all right? So if Deshaun Watson goes out and they can't convert a third down until the fourth quarter again, that's going to be one of the most hostile crowds that you've ever seen from the home stadium fans to that team's quarterback. It's going to be hostile. He is going to get booed to hell. And if it is this bad next week, I don't know if by the third game you can still trot him out there because he already has a confidence problem, right? That's obvious. And if you keep trotting him out there and he keeps failing and he can't convert a third down and he can barely can get a 10-yard pass, and now he doesn't have his best receiver out there either. The only person that's going to be cheered is Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett on defense, right? It's going to be awesome when Nick Chubb comes out of that tunnel. But beyond that, oh my goodness, the boos are going to rain down like hellfire on Deshaun Watson because he has been the worst quarterback in the National Football League and he shouldn't be playing. And but for the contract, he wouldn't.
And you make a great point. They haven't had a home game since week 3. They've had Raiders, Commanders, Eagles on the road, and now it's Bengals, Ravens, Chargers. Oh, boy. Yeah, get ready. Okay, great point. Oh, so you already did your next one. So it's back to me. I was thinking we were still talking about the Browns, but you took it into Watson versus the Browns crowd. See, I remember now. I refreshed my recollection.
Segway.
I'm going to go, this is 10 years old, but it's still compelling. Russell Wilson making his return to the field, his debut for the Steelers against Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. And I know they'll never be on the field at the same time, but there was a fairly inconsequential game between Rodgers and Wilson 10 years ago in the playoffs, NFC Championship game, where God made Russell Wilson throw 4 interceptions, as Wilson said himself, and then the Seahawks came storming back to beat the Packers. You gotta be thinking that both guys are aware, even though they're with different teams, these guys are aware, and I'm hoping that they have a little something. I hope it turns into a little bit of a quarterback duel. I hope it's a little Back to the Future, a movie that Myles has never seen and never will, on Sunday night with Rodgers and Wilson entertaining us, fueled by that playoff game, which was great for the Seahawks and horrible for the Packers from a decade ago.
Yeah, that was a fun game to watch. And, it will be interesting to see if the Steelers can unlock a little bit something more out of their passing game with Russell Wilson in there. I mean, I don't know if they'll really be able to do that. Russell Wilson's got to be better than he was with the Broncos in order for that to happen. But, who knows? Maybe Arthur Smith and him have some sort of really good connection and he can get it with George Pickens and all of that. And that'll be great. Let me go to Buffalo here and let's talk about Amari Cooper versus the Titans defense, because I would anticipate that Amari Cooper will have some sort of package of plays. He's got football IQ. He's a smart guy. He's going to be able to figure out something where they can just tell him, hey, man, run this route and you're going to be all right. They needed somebody in the Buffalo Bills to be able to separate. I mean, the only guy that really had that ability, it seemed like, was Khalil Shakir. And when you only got one of those guys, you need more, especially because Josh Allen can make those off-schedule plays. I think that he and Josh Allen, Amari Cooper and Josh Allen are going to be really good at figuring out just how the spacing works. Amari Cooper's a pro's pro. He's been there. He's done that. He's worked with different quarterbacks. I think this is going to be a really, really great trade. And the Titans defense has played well in spurts, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Joe Brady, Josh Allen implement Amari Cooper just from week 1. I think that he's not necessarily going to have a big game, but he can make, 3 to 4 really impactful plays in this game on Sunday.
We could draw out a storyline from pretty much every one of these games. I could talk about the Chiefs and the 49ers, but we spent 2 weeks talking about the Chiefs and the 49ers earlier this year. We started our visit today with Myles going inside baseball on the whole Tom Brady trying to be the best at 2 things that physically impossible to be the best at both. I'm going to go inside baseball for this Monday night thing that they're giving us. It's another staggered doubleheader, but it's got a twist to it. You've got Ravens-Bucks at 8:15, the traditional Monday Night Football starting time. Then at 9 o'clock Eastern, the old school Monday Night Football kickoff time. You've got the Chargers at the Cardinals. Now, Ravens-Bucks is on ESPN, ESPN2, and by mandate of 345 Park Avenue, it's one of these ABC games as well because the ESPN-only numbers aren't as good as they could be, and they're starting to slip down toward Amazon. We got to boost them. We got to put it on ABC. So, Ravens-Bucks, ABC, ESPN, ESPN2. Chargers-Cardinals, ESPN Plus. ESPN Plus only. How many people do you think it's going to be? It's going to be in the 6 digits. Is it going to be in the 5 digits that watch Chargers Cardinals on now it'll be broadcast over the air in Phoenix and LA, so there will be a decent audience watching it because that's how that game goes. But at the same time, nationally, nobody's going to watch that game. Why are they doing this to us? I feel like this is a 405 regional crap game when you've got 49ers Chiefs or, some other big game at 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Nobody cares about the 4:05 game. This Chargers-Cardinals game is the nobody cares regional broadcast, and the numbers are going to show it if they ever disclose them, and I guarantee you they won't tell us how many or how few watch that game.
Yeah, I would not anticipate learning about those streaming numbers, because I would not necessarily anticipate that they'd be great, because it's going to be, old people versus technology is basically the matchup I think that you're getting at here.
Pete wants to know what the matchup is. The matchup is these two games on at the same time. They're matching up these two games, and it's going to be a landslide. Why are they even bothering to have this second game? So, again, I said I was going to go inside baseball. And I did. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.